What is up, YouTube? JankyYGO here. My name is Michael, and today I am going to be going over my Ritual Beast deck. And now, there hasn't been really any changes to this deck in a while, but I still like the deck and I want to do it anyway, and it naturally has a good it has a naturally good Necroz matchup, so if you're running into that deck a lot, hey, well, this deck might be right for you if you know how to play it. I'll get into why that's a struggle in a second. But anyway, first I'm playing two Spiritual Beast Apelios. So it has the effect of once per turn during either player's turn, you can banish a Ritual Beast card from your graveyard. For the rest of the turn, all Ritual Beast monsters you control will gain 500 attack and defense, and you can only special summon one Spiritual Beast Apelio once per turn. They all have they can only be special summoned once per turn. And once we get to the extra deck, if you're unfamiliar with this deck, we'll get into why. But this card is good because it puts any Ritual Beast card from your graveyard into the banish zone, and this deck plays off the banish zone. So that's another thing that's a little bit unique about this deck, is that, like I said, if you're unfamiliar with this deck, it plays off the banish zone. It's a really interesting concept of how contact fusing, because that's what this deck does, and like I said, we'll get into that a little bit later, could work. Anyway, but this card is good because it's not just the ones you currently control. So when you summon another, one from your extra deck, it's really, really good because it boosts up that too. And it's not a hard once per turn, meaning if you summon it, if you were to normal summon it and then special summon it back in the same turn, you can use its banish effect again. And none of the effects, almost none of them, are hard once per turn for the main deck monsters. And so, yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, we're gonna move on. I'm playing 3 Spiritual Beast Tamer Windas, which is a floater, and it can special summon one from your extra deck too. But the main important part about this card is that it is a Spiritual Beast and a Tamer, because for the fusions you need one Tamer and one Spiritual Beast. So the best part about this is that it is both. Now, and when it floats, it ignores the summoning conditions for the extra deck monster, and it also has the you can only special summon it once per turn. But like I said, all the main deck monsters have that. But yeah, the best part about this card is that it makes it so your bricks feel less bad, because this deck, one of the downsides of this deck is it can brick pretty hard if you get too many Tamers or you get too many of the beasts. But this is both, so it helps you out a lot. Alright, we're gonna move on to Rampengu. I'm only playing one. Rampengu isn't, in my opinion, he's good. He's just not the greatest. He has that effect of once per turn, you can banish one Ritual Beast monster from your extra deck and send one with the same type from your deck. So he's a Foolish Burial. And that works really good with our boy over here, the Apelio. And he puts one in the banish zone, which is fine. And yeah, and also, once again, can only be special summoned once per turn. Now we're going to get on to the best main deck monster, in my personal opinion, and it's probably it's probably the general consensus, but it's the Little Cannahawk. Little Cannahawk, it has the effect of you can banish a Ritual Beast card face up from your deck, and you get it on the second standby phase, so it's like a Gold Sarcophagus. And because of the fact that you can, because this deck plays off the banish zone specifically, it helps you extend your plays and keep going, or set up for next turn. And yeah, this one's definitely the best one out of the group. The next one is, this isn't the best card, it's a one-off because it's okay. So once per turn, you can banish a Ritual Beast card from your hand, then target one card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So why am I playing one of this? Well, because every time I've cut it, I've needed it. So I've decided to put it back in as a one of. It's not like the greatest, but it has 2000 defense, and I guess that helps. Anyway, but yeah, this Cannahawk is the best monster in the main deck. Okay, now we're moving on to the Tamers. So all the Tamers have an effect to like help you get out another Ritual Beast monster, and Win lets you get it from the banish zone. So like you can banish with Cannahawk and then some normal summon Win and get you a freaking whatever one you got with Cannahawk. Next, I'm playing 2 Ash Blossoms, 2 Ghost Ogres, and Traps. Pretty good. And I'm not running 3 of each because this deck has a problem with consistency sometimes, and bricking is a thing. But you still need Ash Blossoms, and you still need Ghost Ogres because some decks are crazy, and you need to stop them. We're going 3 Ritual Beast Elders. Elder is, I would argue, the second best monster in the main deck, as he normal summons one from your hand. And normal summoning is better since you can only special summon once each turn, or once of copy, or one copy of each Ritual Beast per turn. So, yeah, this card is probably the best one, and him and Little Cannahawk are like your main starter cards, and it really gets the deck like going. So yeah, these two are the best, I would say, for main deck monsters. Now we'll go on to 3 Ritual Beast Laras. Or Lara. When she's normal summon, she gets the Monster Reborn one, essentially, just one right from the graveyard. Because she's a Tamer. She's pretty good. I know some people like running the what's it called? I'll look it up real fast. I'm drawing a blank. Okay, the Zephyro one right here, but I never liked that personally, because if something happens to this one, it goes to the extra deck. Like if they were to destroy it, it goes to the extra deck, and then you can't really get it back unless you're playing this one. And I don't really like the Zephyra Pendulum Engine personally. Maybe if you like it, by all means feel free to use it. But personally, I am just not a fan of that. The only upside that this one brings is if it is pendulum summoned, you get it. But I'm not a fan. Like I said, I'm just not a fan of it. Next, I'm going 1 Upstart Goblin to help a little bit with consistency, because running a 39 card deck is fine. I would run more Upstarts if it was at 1, but if it was at more. But it's at 1, and that's where we're at. 1 Gold Sarc. Gold Sarc is another Spiritual Beast Cannahawk. It just kind of gets the thing going. It actually functions more like a Foolish Burial in the deck than anything, which is what the next thing is: Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is in this deck to get play started with Lara, and to get things playing. Like you can Foolish Burial, banish this normal, or banish with this normal summon and then get going with your combos. E-Teleport's in this deck because all the Tamers are psychics. So all the Tamers are psychics, so you can E-Tele out any of them, and while you can only special summon them once per turn. the E-Telly can help you unbrick. So like you could go, like if you only had a Cannahawk in hand and a bunch of trap cards, because you can see I'm playing 11 traps, but you can go Cannahawk, use Cannahawk's effect, banish one, use E-Telly, get out another thing, and then just start your plays from there. Pretty good. Next, I'm playing one Bond, and Bond's in here as a one of to help you go and push for that extra points of damage, because sometimes I found that they end up living at like barely, and then you can't finish them. But if you had Bond, you could, and Bond is a fine one of, because every Ritual Beast card in this deck is searchable, including the spells and traps, and that's one of the fusion monsters effects, and we'll get into that one once we come across it. But until then, we're going to move on. One Dimensional Fissure. Any monster sent to the graveyard is banished, because this deck likes things to be banished. Now, the problem is, it doesn't work with Ogre. So that's the only downside, is that it doesn't work with Ogre, because Ogre has to be sent from the hand or field to the graveyard. But I think it's fine still, personally. Like, most of the time, Ogre is caught in your hand. Like, you can, if you're forced to go second, because this deck wants to go first, Ogre will be there to help you stop whatever plays they got anyway, and then you can play Dimensional Fissure afterwards. But if you're going first and you have these two in your hand, it kind of sucks. But other than that, like, you can usually play around it pretty easily. Anyway, time for the very best card in the deck, Ritual Beast Steeds. If you control a Ritual Beast monster, destroy any number of monsters, or destroy monsters on the field up to the number of Ritual Beast monsters you currently control. This card doesn't target. As the most important thing about this card, it doesn't target, and it's super powerful, and it's searchable. So you can just keep disrupting their plays, and it's great. 3, Ambush. Ambush lets you special summon. Also, I forgot to mention, Steeds is not a hard once per turn. You can activate multiple in a turn. Anyway, Ambush, I'm playing 3 of it. You can target 1 Ritual Beast Tamer and 1 Spiritual Beast monster that are banished and or in your graveyard special summon defense, but you can only special summon Ritual Beast the turn you activate that for the rest of this turn. But that's okay, as 1, it says for the rest of the turn, so you can still do your other plays. And 2, it's still fine because it's a trap card, and you can activate it on their end phase, so you get your monsters back, and then go from there. And then on your main phase, you can use your monsters however you want, go into the XDs. But I built my extra deck in mind with this, in case I have to, like, in case for whatever reason I can't activate it during their turn, like if they had like a Denko and I had to out that. But yeah, moving on. This card's really good. It just helps you like push. Macrocosmos, play it always. Banishes every card. That's fine. It's still good. It disrupts more decks than anything, and it's gonna hurt your opponent, and it's not even gonna affect you. And then we got the whole Solemn Brigade. All of them. 2 strikes, a judgment, and a warning. Because this deck wants to go first, wants to stop your opponent from playing, and just wants to lock them out and slowly grind out advantage, and can do that really, really well. Next, I'm playing 2 Ulti-Gaiapelio. It's kind of a finisher, but honestly, the biggest thing about this card is that you use this because it's a psychic. You send it to the graveyard with Rampengu to get one of your Tamers in the graveyard, more than anything. But if you do happen to summon it the way it's supposed to be summoned, and not off of Winda, also you can summon it off Winda, so it's just a big beat stick, but it can negate things too. negate spell trap or monster effects, but it has to be summoned using a Ritual Beast ulti monster, and a Tamer monster, and a regular monster. So it requires 3 things. It's a huge investment. I don't usually recommend ever going for that, because most of the time it's better just to not to. But anyway, but yeah, it's fine. If you're gonna special summon out anything with Winda, besides like one of your main deck monsters, this might be the thing you go for, just because it's really big and it can be hard to get over. Next up, Ulti-Gaiapelio. So all the regular ultis, except for Gaiapelio right here, have this effect where it must be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above card you control, and you cannot special summon it other ways. So, which is a Ritual Beast Tamer and a Spiritual Beast Tamer. All of the fusions have that effect, so I'm not going to be going over it every single time. The only effect that is different is their middle effect, which is, I should say this, because it's a combination. It's literally Lara writing Apelio, but if this card attacks, it is unaffected by other cards until the end of the damage step. It's important to note that if you're playing this deck and you use regular Apelio's effect, when you attack with this, that also counts your stuff, so it will go back down to 2600. So you might kind of struggle getting over things with massive attack, but that's what this is for. The Pettlephin is because because there are things where it's really hard to get over at times and it's kind of annoying, but you could always use Steeds to pop. If it can't be destroyed, it can be bounced usually. If it can't be targeted or destroyed, well, then it's time to go into Ulti-Gaiapelio. But for the most part, this gets over almost everything, so you should be good. Now, time for the best fusion of the deck. The limited one, and I'll get into why it's limited. Okay? And I'll get into some rulings and stuff like that too, which is Ulti-Cannahawk. So, I forgot to mention. Well, I guess I'll mention Ulti-Cannahawk. But so yeah, its unique effect is once per turn, you can target 2 banished Ritual Beast cards, return them to the graveyard, and if you do, you get to add 1 Ritual Beast card from your deck to your hand. That is not a hard once per turn. At all. So, you can keep doing that, because all of the fusions, all the little fusions, so Ulti-Gaiapelio, Cannahawk, and the one we're going to talk about next, have, during either player's turn, you can return this card from your extra deck, target 2 of your banished Ritual Beast monsters, 1 Tamer and 1 Spiritual Beast monster specifically, and special summon in defense. So, one of the reasons why the main deck monsters can only be special summoned once per turn is because you could literally keep bouncing in and out on your turn, and there would be a lot of loops. So if that wasn't the case, you could bounce let's say I use these 2, normal summon, and go into this, or use this effect. I could banish every Ritual Beast card from my deck and just keep doing that. Or if someone max seed you can automatically win the max seed challenge, because when this deck came out, max seed was at 3. Anyway, this card got limited because Ritual Beast topped, got 3 or 4 spots at the Nationals the year it came out. The deck was seen as bad, and it wasn't seen as good, but the only thing holding it back was Nekroz had the Djinn lock. And what the Djinn is it says that if you use it for a Ritual Beast or Ritual Summon, your opponent can't special summon. So the fact of the matter was, if they didn't get that though, you destroy them. And as soon as that card got banned, that Ritual Djinn that did that, this deck just took off like wildfire. And then Konami hit the deck because because it was just an overwhelming powerhouse, and Cannahawk isn't really a fair card because there is an interaction with it that you only have to really return one, and I'll tell you what you mean. Okay, so let's say I'll move Elder Cannahawk here. Okay, so these are on the field, and we're gonna ban it. We're gonna use this Cannahawk, and we're gonna banish this. Okay, we're gonna special summon this using these two. All right. So these 3 cards are banished. You can use this effect to return the 2, right? So you target Cannahawk and Tamer, right? You can and Winda. Then you tag out Cannahawk, and you get Ritual Beast Elder, and you get Ritual Beast Canna out. Tamer goes back to the graveyard. And you special summon these 2, and you still get your search. So there's a way to return 1 and still get your search. Return only 1 to the graveyard. And another ruling about it is that because it's returning, it's not sending them to the graveyard. So you're returning them, so it still works under macro and Dimensional Fissure. Now the last fusion monster we're going to talk about, it isn't very exciting. It just says it can't be destroyed by card effects. But the good thing about this card is that it helps you kind of wall off and stall, and that can be good. And it's not, and you can't really target these cards either because their bounce effect and everything to go back to the extra deck is a quick effect. So you try to target it, you quick it, you return it, and returning it is cost 2. So yeah, you return it. So returning and targeting are costs from the banish. So if they try to mess with your thing, even if they have an effect that targets again, it's over. It's already in. They can't target it again. It's gone. They can't ghost ogre it because it's off the field. It's just gone. And it's a 2000 wall that can't be destroyed by card effects. It's fine, and it's usually the end of the thing, of your turn 1. If you don't have like a really good play, like if you can only make like 1 and can't really go off, then this is the one that you make. But if you have these 2, then you can usually get a search and make this on your first turn, and that's okay. That's pretty good. You got a search and an okay-ish wall. Next, Baguska, because it's Baguska, and Plan B, shut everything off. Second, Lightning Chidori. Also, this deck, if your opponent plays Baguska, unfortunately, this deck kind of doesn't like that. But Lightning Chidori is good. It removes a set card, and it bounces something to the top of the deck. It's kind of like the original Castell. But anyway, moving on. And it's wind. Monsters is why it's kind of exclusive. The best part about this deck is that it is wind, one of the better parts, because it gives you access to Totem Bird 2, which allows you to negate spells and trap cards as well. And yeah, while it doesn't have materials, it loses it, but it's fine. You know. Also playing Borreload, because Borreload's Borreload, and sometimes you can make it, and it's like a powerhouse. Now, one of the best additions that we've gotten to this deck is the Ulti-Gaiapelio, because it buffs all your Ritual Beast monsters that it points to, and then you can banish 1 Ritual Beast card from your graveyard and immediately normal summon 1 from your hand. It's important to note that it says immediately normal summon, because that's different than Elder, because Elder says you get an additional normal summon, but you can only gain that effect once per turn. If it had the same effect as Elder, you'd only get 1 normal summon if you normal summoned Elder. But with this, because it says immediately normal summon, you have to normal summon immediately after you use the effect. So it's kind of like the Yosenjus, and how the Yosenjus just keep normal summoning each other. because you immediately do it, you get more normal summons for your turn. It also has, to activate that effect, you have to banish a Ritual Beast card from your graveyard, which also sets up Cannahawk to keep going, the Ulti Cannahawk. And because you link it away, there's 2 materials in the graveyard for you already. And on top of all that, it has the effect to return to the extra deck and special summon more from your banished zone to keep your plays going. This card is one of the better cards in the deck. I wouldn't recommend going for it turn 1 unless you could guarantee you could make this and at least the Ulti Pettlephin. But it's still a good card. I think it's a better turn 2 play personally. But that's just me. And then the last card is I'm playing one Link Karibo because Lara. And playing a Link Karibo sometimes when all you got is like a few Laras in your hand is better than nothing. But anyway, that's the deck. If it's your birthday today, happy birthday. If you want to send us any cool replays, don't even have to be cool. We'll probably feature them on the channel anyway. Go ahead and send them down. Our email's in the description. And of course, have a wonderful day.